Welcome to Phoenix's Rising Academy. I'm Coach T, and your blessings are in your ashes. This episode is for every soul who's made it out of the fire and is still shaking off the smoke. If you're feeling confused, angry, or just now starting to thaw out from the narcissistic abuse, this one is especially for you. You're not crazy. You've been caught in someone else's delusion. And today, Phoenixes, we're calling it out. So, this episode, I'm going to put a trigger warning disclaimer before we even get started. I also want to say, as you guys know, I share with you my story because I believe that it's valuable, that the steps that I took and the wisdom that I gained is valuable to share with you guys, to give you motivation, um, strength, and to just to let you know that if you've done the same thing, to get through, then okay. Or if you felt the same way, then, then I'm doing something right and this is relatable. Okay. So here we go. The rest after the storm. I'm finally in a place where I could rest. After over 10 years in the trenches coaching and teaching you in real time from inside the tornado, the Most High has now given me permission to stop running and to breathe. And when I did, the grief hit. The memories raging through my skin. The truth, not just fragmented pieces of being in the moment. The residual pain, all the things I couldn't process while I was surviving. Coaching while bleeding. I wasn't teaching from the mountaintop. I was walking you through your storm while I was in mine. And I had to master emotional stillness in the chaos, because that's when the Most High gave me my clearest visions. The NG parasites and their wolves. What hit me hardest is realizing that a lot of people who targeted me weren't even a part of my bloodline. They just saw me, the light, saw that no one was protecting me, and therefore assumed that I was alone. And they fed violently off of me. And I was reflecting one morning in meditation about who those who targeted me were. People out of the blue, people that I didn't know. Like I said, they were not a part of my bloodline. Some of these people were in wheelchairs, paralyzed, amputation. I just call her amputee. Some were even homeless. That was the most perplexing part. Some had mental breaks from too many rituals and therefore were in permanent psychosis or schizophrenic. But they all believed I didn't deserve what little I had. So much so that I was robbed. I was targeted consciously. They knew my name. And everything that I had saved up from 2017 after having the apartment company, a real estate company, throw out all of my stuff, refusing to give it back, which I've never heard that since they do have 14 days. They didn't notify me. They didn't do anything, right? Um, but at that time, God did not want me to pursue uh, and I was being blocked spiritually, ritualistically, from filing a lawsuit against them because I had one clearly. But then so here's the second time that I'm having these people steal, and I saved up phoenixes, what little I had from my old apartment, then what I had built while I was on the streets. And they took just about everything then. And in their minds, they were justified. They were entitled. They had built a whole false world simply around me. They created false stories, false familiarity, false relationships, just like in the film Bugs from 2006. So the film Bugs was starred Michael Shannon, and he played in Give Me Shelter as well. And that was, again, one of those psychological benders, right? Just like Bugs, where this guy is having a psychotic episode and he pulls Ashley Judd's character into the delusion. And they're both, by the end of the movie, they're both uh, 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 in their skivvies, barely making it out, you know, full of foil. And I was like, how did they get the foil? I don't remember anybody going to the store, but I'd have to watch it again. But that's what it reminded me just in meditation, you know? The film is a metaphor of narcissistic spiritual entrapment, I think. And they infect you with their paranoia and they hold you hostage to it. The whole thing is to spin a web. And I've told you guys, gang stalking is a sorority for people with character disturbances, a cluster B personality, which is what a cluster B personality has, is a character disturbance, which means that is ingrained in them to fantasize about doing evil to people. I as an empath, I have had more than 5 of these cluster Bs attached to me and have these relationships with me that I would never have with them. I've never picked to be in a abusive relationship. I'm too high vibrating, right? But that's exactly what they want, right? So, and they believe uh what what they're doing, even though it's weird. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you know? And they need you to believe that the character that they've assigned to you is actually you and not a character. Because if you wake up, then their world, their insanity, their delusions crumble. Delusions in their domain. Cluster B personalities operate in multiple delusional worlds. You're not living one life with them, you're living in 5. They compartmentalize, they dissociate. You're not just dating a person, you're living inside their psychosis. And they hover you back to pick you up right where they left off if you've left or they've discarded you and are coming back around, of course, right? The game was paused in there. And I had a person, a person who I was dating, uh, a person who I was actually dating, and she was abusive from the beginning. But this is before I woke up, because since I grew up in abuse, I knew how to handle it, even though um I didn't see any examples, right, of being in a healthy relationship, right? So, and when I say I wouldn't choose a abusive relationship, that is still true. So, when the honeymoon's over, the honeymoon's over, and then you start to see their true, when the mask slips off because they feel that they got you in there, you're not going to leave them because this is what they're going to do if you to keep you from doing such a thing, right? So, anyway, they hoover you back to pick up right where they left off, in the process of pretty much just uh, trying to get you to trying to drain you to death, literally. So they consider that the game was paused and now we got to start over. It's or that now we got to start from, it's like a film term that says it's staging, right? So let's get back to our centers. Let's get back to center. Let's get back to the point where we left off in this scene, and action. And then they press play, and you were being cocooned like a spider does a fly, right? So anyway, next one is energetic trafficking and tethering. So we're going to go deep in this one. There are people who try to astrally tether to your energetic field. There was a preacher on my TikTok. I'm going to see if I can look him up really quick. And I never knew what to refer to these. I've always called them astral terrorists, right? Again, you're not crazy. This is actually happening. You are just, so because you've dealt with a cluster B personality, um, they have made you privy to the underworld, to the different realms and dimensions, because a cluster B is a cocktail of multiple types of principles and principalities. Okay? I mean, that's just the end all of it. And there's another lady, I'm not sharing anymore other people's videos on my YouTube because people start flagging them, and or YouTube flags them or does something. And I'm not trying to steal anybody's content, but I just like that when my point is proven. Oh, here, okay. Demonic warfare. And
bear in mind, all these are activities of persons because we're dealing with persons without bodies. First, entice.
okay. So his name is Derek.
Entice.
Sorry about that. His name is Derek Prince. And in my meditation the other day, I had asked the Most High, what are these things? Because, you got, and people don't want to believe it, but you watch Star Trek, and that's the metaphor that I'm going to use. If you watch Star Trek, you know that there were parasites and amoebas, and that evolved into humanoid like, you know what I mean? You had I'm not even going to mention that, but you had these different species who were interdimensional, right? Interdimensional is spiritual, it's energetic, right? We do it. We travel. I travel. I had somebody try and hijack me. They were there were a monitoring spirit, and they were in my subconscious. So when I woke up, right before I woke up, and I always see them right before I wake up. So they're doing something, but it's happened twice where I was beating the crap out of whoever it was. Like, so one time I saw it, and it was a black lady, and she had a shawl and her head wrapped and no makeup, and she looked just kind of, grody, like, you know what I mean? Like she'd just been at the house, right? And she was hiding behind this like power thing that we sometimes see on the streets or that are near buildings, with all the electricity and stuff like this. I think it's something for the telephone or whatever. And she was hiding behind it while I was still, it's in this a sleep state. And she looked at me and she got indignant, like, well, what are you gonna do? So what? I'm here. I whooped her so bad, I mean, and I hit her. And I kept hitting her and I kept hitting her and I kept hitting her. I was not playing. Right. So, and I say this not to brag, Phoenixes, because I have gone through what many people will not in their journey because I was willing to give up the ghost, if you know what I mean. Because when I became homeless, I had already been suicidal. And this trigger warning, as I said in the beginning, but I'm going to be transparent with you guys. I had already been suicidal because I was like, I don't know how to function in this realm. If I do, it's like because things are always changing. I mean, let's not even bring cluster B personalities into it, even though, it's them that keeps changing everything because of the witchcraft and the, interdimensional conversations that they're having. But societally, the seasons are change. I don't know who's making them up. Sometimes, you got bell bottoms that are in again, right? And so now wearing, tight knit, fitting clothes is no longer authentic. Now they want you in skinny jeans, you know? And in order to get into skinny jeans, you can't eat. So I've seen a lot of malnutritioned males because they're the ones that seem to wear them the most. You know what I mean? So you can't keep up. And I was like, look, I had this track and I didn't realize it until being on this part of my journey, right? Like it's like layers of the onion. You got and the layers are the different timelines, right? As you grow, you're not graduating. You're going from to a different timeline, right? It's like levels of a game. And so anyway, but I was like, I'm done because I know I'm doing everything right. I'm not picking to be abused. These people are gravitating towards me and then getting mad because I can go solo dolo with no problem. And if my heart doesn't feel it, I'm not going to do it. So, and again, it's just that sometimes we can't. People don't want us to do things by ourselves, or they don't, because the stereotype of a black lesbian, a fat black lesbian, being a genius is too much to pal up. When I was growing up, we still had people that were, people are like, oh my God, they're lynching people. Yeah, they were lynching people back where I was too in Washington State. I felt it, but I was so used to enduring it that, I didn't really know how bad it was until I moved to California where there was diversity and my mind was overwhelmed because it's like I can't like everybody, right? Like this is what we were fighting for in Washington State was to be included and not to always be in all white spaces and be singled out or ganged up on or whatever. And here I had this, and I mean, Jiminy Christmas, I found out that there was another form of racism that didn't have anything to do with Caucasians. So if it didn't have anything to do with Caucasians, then it had something to do with the spirit, right? And so basically what I was doing is I was waking up and I stopped waking up abruptly because it seemed like the more that I woke up, the more I was attacked. And I didn't want to deal with that because I believed the same thing as my enemies believed, that if I didn't have anybody backing me up, I didn't have anybody. I didn't understand God at that time. I didn't understand what to look for. I was only on a certain level. And even though the Most High was trying to take me to another level and I was dipping my toes in, you know, but I hadn't really gotten the full Monty yet. And that would happen, right? I would go deeper when I became homeless, and I had to because I thought I'm not going to, I'm going to go, I'm going to leave, but at least let me leave with the knowledge that I can ingrain in my Akashic records for the next time when my soul reincarnates and I don't have to go through this again because I can acknowledge that I made some mistakes. I say now, when people say, hey, what would you do over again? Everything. everything. And when you understand the matrix is pissed at people who remember that they used to only have to pay 10 cents for cigarettes, right? We come in here, we're not supposed to come in here with memory. We're supposed to forget. And the matrix sends out its sentinels to program us through trauma and fragment us. You see what I'm saying? Do you understand? Right? Put something in the comments that says that you understand. Say, I understand. I can relate. Okay? So not to go off, but just, I mean, it's deep, Phoenixes, and that's where I coach from. I coach from the depths of my experiences, not to transfer it to you, but to show you and to have you hear in a way that you could possibly reflect on an experience that you've had. Now, some are going to be resistant because of the color of my skin, or because of my gender or my sexual orientation, and that's fine. I'm not for you. I'm not the coach for you. I'm not the transformational coach for you. I didn't survive for you, right? I survived for my bloodline. I survived because really the Most High God didn't want me to transition yet. Okay, but anyway, so I say all that just to have you guys know. So I had to go deeper, and sometimes we got to go deeper, right? Um, but yeah, so let's get to it because I just lost my place. I'm sorry. And so okay, and if you're a light source, okay, yeah, they insert themselves into your space, your dreams, your decisions, and if you're a light source, especially an unprotected one, they feed. If I felt it, okay, so that's me getting back to there. Sorry, I lost my place, you guys, because sometimes I think again, we're always constantly healing, right? My nervous system is still, again, at this point in time, God has granted me this peace and this space. It doesn't mean that I'm not being gang stalked or anything else like that, because I just had a situation, tonight as I'm doing this podcast. I just had a situation where some they people don't listen and they don't learn. And that's the nature of being a cluster B, and this was a flying monkey. And I've seen her before and saw him the other day. And yeah, so it's still amazing. They're gonna keep trying to keep there's certain spaces and practices alive, in the hopes that they'll be able to get at least a little bit of uh of uh power, right? Because they've right now, a lot of these cluster B personalities are crashing out, and because they lost power, but they've been crashing out since 2023. I mean, you know what I mean? That's when the crash out started, because God started blocking that energy. God started removing, you could tell with the fluctuation of the Schumann resonance, where you see these pure white strains, or you see these DNA. It's like, yeah, yeah, we're done with this now. I gave you, I think it was about 20, 30 years, right? And God reminded me too. We'll get back to it, but God reminded me. If it, and just a side note, if you know, when I write this stuff down so I can stay on script, but I'm so passionate about what I'm talking about that sometimes I'll read the script because I've edited it, and I do use AI as a partner in it, but I've already written it. I'm just asking for some pointers and for some formatting. Um, which sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. It doesn't do really well. But anyway. But anyway, so yeah. But yeah, I'm just really passionate about it. But so, uh, God was revealing to me. Oh, Jiminy Christmas, what did he say? He was revealing to me. Oh gosh. I'll have to come back to it when I remember it. Dang it, I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Because it was a Bible verse that not a Bible verse, but a Bible story. And he said that's what that means. And I'll get back to it. Sorry guys. So anyway, but you made it out, right? Most of us have made it out. We're here, you're listening to me, so that means you made it. And if you're listening, um you've conquered a lot of your fears surrounded with dealing with a cluster B personality, right? Or dealing with, you've probably healed a relationship or a wound, right? That you had about your father, your mother, your parents, or that you thought that, somebody told, aunt and uncle told you something, that you were this and you were ugly, you were never going to amount, because that's what all I was told, right? And that's the start, because the system itself does not want us to prosper, those who remember who we are, and we naturally live from our authentic self. And I've always lived from my authentic self, always. And so, and if you're listening to me, so have you. Okay. And this is why we get the crap beat out of us, no matter what our race, age, our sexual orientation. We get the crap beat out of us. The whole thing is steal, kill, and destroy, and to keep doing that over and over and over again. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna get off of this one. So the next one is vengeance versus revenge. I had to learn the difference, and this is again, I'm telling you guys about my experience and my journey up to this, because again, God has given me a pit stop to get out of, just to relax, because I was at my wit's end. I said, and when your soul gets tired, that's a total different kind of tiredness, right? And so gratefully I had I learned to be patient, and the rewards are coming, right? But they're resistant. They get resistant. So just know that you're going to have resistance when your enemies, your gang stalkers and your the rest of the cluster Bs and just toxic people, right? People who had access, even people who are pretty level-headed, all of a sudden will lose their shit when you say no to something, because naturally it's not natural, I don't think, because, well, and here it is, because if somebody said no, and I'll be like, okay, well, why, right? um and especially if I've really liked the person, I'm like, oh God, I don't want to let you go, dude, like it hurts, you know so I guess it is naturally when you don't want to lose something, and that, because it's been going really good and then it changes, so there's a natural resistance. And so with some people, with that resistance comes defiance in respecting that boundary and trying to make you pay, right? So I learned the difference between vengeance and revenge. Vengeance is sacred, it's God's justice. Revenge is wounded and blind, right? We're blind to, say it this way. So Yeshua said, these things that I do, you can do and greater, right? Pardon me. We've also heard, Mary Mary sing, it's the God in me, right? And it's the God in you, right? And then I was in my talk with God. I talk with God a lot, right? Um, and I said, I am a God unto myself, but I am not the most high God, right? And people say, oh, it's blasphemous. No, but I am, though. Am I not creating? And is the universe not responding to my creation? Right? When I chant mantra, when I sing mantra, the universe responds because I am resonating. I am speaking words of power, and I am resonating with like energy, and all those particles gather together and become this dense wave. That dense wave gathers together and gets another dense wave to form and materialize what this laptop that I'm speaking from. You understand? It was a thought. Okay? So, what revenge does not understand is that revenge, people who seek revenge are not global thinkers. They may think like dominoes, right? Dominoes hitting in a line, right? Okay, and when I do this, because people think, oh, that's smart, that's intelligent. Well, you become eagle sharp when you're in a rage, because I've done it. I've done it twice or three times when I was on the streets, especially. You know what I mean? And you do. And I watched myself, in that state. You become eagle sharp. But what you're really not thinking about, you're thinking about getting to your target and taking that target out. But the thing that people are missing is which is the global part, is that it's not just about you. My guides and the Most High had to tell me. I mean, like literally, one of my guides was screaming it. It's not just you going through this, you know? Because I was asking and I was demanding and I was mad and I was like, look, here it is, another flipping year. I have gotten up off the streets. It was a time when I'd gotten up off the streets. I'd gotten into a motel that was cockroach infested. I was making the best out of it that I possibly could. I was making a home. And yet I was still being harassed. I was still having to watch out because these people were literally trying to unalive me. Energetically, I wasn't just dealing with evil eye. I was dealing with people transferring their sicknesses and diseases to me and is sitting there and infecting my cells because they wanted to slow me down. They were irate, right? So, and those 3 times that I hit that eagle precision, that eagle focus, was when I was going to go and take revenge. When I could, that's what gang will have. All of us who have survived gang stalking, we all know what the motive is. The motive is either to get you to unalive yourself, go crazy, or unalive one of them, and they already know that the part of the covenant, part of the covenant is to be willing to sacrifice yourself for, in my case, it was La Raza because that I was in California, right? And those were the people that I was dealing with. It's nothing towards them, and it's never been anything towards them except for you tried to annihilate me simply for setting a boundary, and then you tried to annihilate me simply for doing what you for surviving and attempting to thrive, right? So my revenge came at 3 different times when I was, going to take matters into my own hands. And so I learned that I had to have peace over it and an understanding like, okay, it's not just about me. Because if I do this to people, and usually with us chosen, us earth angels, us empaths, right? We have all these gifts. And unfortunately, even though we may get our target, we may get one of our own. And I have had that happen where I didn't know somebody was for me because I was blinded by rage and getting revenge, right? So vengeance is sacred. Vengeance is when you have healed and you let it go, right? You let the situation go, you let God and your spirit team, your guides deal with it. And when you are in alignment, when all the chess pieces are in their spots, then, right? Then, and a lot of times, and God told me this the other night, or showed it to me. He was like, look, then you don't, by that time, you won't have to do anything because everything, all the dominoes are lined up. And all I got to do is take my fingers and flick it. And there they go. And I think right now we're watching a domino effect of sorts, right? It's like, boom, you know? And so, um, yeah. So, and the vengeance is then after, when everybody's basically, vengeance is when everybody's getting justice, right? Even those who have passed on and transitioned, they're getting justice too. right? That's why it's important for you guys to say your declarations and your decrees. That's why we do the work. I am showing you, I'm giving you tools, right, to navigate through the valley of the shadow of death, basically, right? It's like the Egyptian book of the dead. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm giving you tools. I'm showing you what it looks like, what it can look like, not what it has to look like, but what it can look like. But if you're still clogged up and you're still stuck on revenge or bitterness or fear or shame or guilt, I had a lot of shame. I'm not going to talk about that because I've already cleared it, but I've had a lot of shame. And it was shame that was put on me by other people who did shameful acts. And I was shamed because that act was not perpetrated on me. It was perpetrated on somebody that person actually loved. I grew up where people were using me, and I was expendable, right? And even they tried to follow that up, right? Because when you grow up in a family like that, there is everybody thinks that. So there is no bonding. There is nothing that you can do. Right? I mean, in my situation, I know. I mean, great, more power to you guys. I think it's beautiful if you have at least one relative that is sincere and helps you in that sector with the healing process, right? And I believe that means, because I don't believe that blood is not thicker than water, but it can be, right? But I do believe that the people that we incarnate into, right? We come down into this wormhole through are not necessarily our actual blood. You see what I'm saying? Right? So anyway, but that's a higher level fun. That's something to talk about on another day. But yeah. So um yeah, it's the best thing not to take revenge, right? And so, when I'm working with clients, I tell them, hey, give them a step, give them this to write out. I mean, it is really similar to being in a 12-step route, right? Where you write it out and you say, okay, so this is what the Most High showed me. That was my part. This is what is still bugging me because this person did this, right? Or whatever. So you got these, I have people go through and write um, declarations and decrees is what it amounts to. So then that way they're not hanging on to that. Then when you let go, you can truly let go, right? Okay, so sometimes I was so close to seeking it until the Most High revealed the bigger picture. When you heal, you stop reacting and start receiving revelation, and that's where the real power is. So again, it's just still in regards to vengeance versus revenge. So revenge is wounded and blind, whereas vengeance is sacred and healed. And just got through telling you guys, I had on 3 occasions where I was like, screw this, I've come this far and I've built up enough good, you know, because it can go the other way too. Sometimes, you build up so much grace and favor that, you say, I could spare some, you know, I believe I can spare some. And that's not what the Most High wants you to do. So, last one, number 7, numbness after survival, which is what I've been dealing with off and on right now. Again, now that I'm going deeper in my healing, and this is what I'm saying, healing and going on your journey, healing is like layers of an onion. The deeper you go, the more intense it gets. All right. But also, the more patience you have, the more waiting, the more letting go you have to do, right? And people don't understand that's where the power is, because your enemies are constantly oscillating. They're constantly in a state of flux. Because they're constantly worried that they're going to lose what they stole in the first place, right? Because you didn't take to the mind control. You didn't take to uh your daughter or son dying, right? You didn't freak out. You don't have to go into the hospital. Didn't mean that you didn't grieve. Didn't mean that it wasn't, upsetting, but it did take you out. right? So, um, and they're mad about that. So now again, number 7, numbness after survival. Now that I'm in a new place, right? For this, just talking about myself, just relating what I've been doing, being transparent. After 6 years without my own place, like think about this. This is my first apartment after from 2017 till now. I think that's about 8 years. I mean, put it in the comments. 2017 to 2025, right? I mean, and it's almost 2026, so we can probably say 2026. I have my own apartment, and I was numb. I was numb. I couldn't believe it. My sexy Hazel. Sorry, that's my fur baby. I was numb. I looked around and I missed my fur baby Prosperity because she didn't make it on this trip. She was a casualty that almost tore me apart. And it took me a month to unthaw and to start walking around my place, which is what I had to do. Because I had been in rooms before and I was like, well, what is the difference besides me having a refrigerator, a stove, and a dishwasher and, 2 sinks and and that is in a bedroom and a toilet and a big tub that I can take baths and showers in, a sink and a mirror, right? I don't have to stay in cramped space. And that was a thing, right? That was it. But that's for another episode. We'll talk about the thawing out next time in more detail. I just wanted to give you guys a snippet. But for now, just know, if you feel like time is broken, if you feel like you woke up and the world moved without you, if you feel like you're starting from zero after being spiritually trafficked, you are not alone, Phoenixes. I'm right here with you. And know that it's you awakening. From the ashes we rise. From the soul we lead. You've been held hostage in someone else's psychosis long enough. The locks are broken. You're walking out. Please, my Phoenixes, let's get to at least 1,000 subscribers. And by sharing this, if you can relate, and if you even know somebody else who can relate with you know what I mean, just to feel that they're not alone. Because a lot of people, they didn't have very many subscribers. At times I went to channels just to get some comfort. And if they wouldn't have still posted, I wouldn't have found out details, right? Because God puts us in alignment with whoever's in alignment with him. And I pray that that's the case with us. And again, thank you for your support. Though over 400 subscribers now is a blessing. I started in 2020 and I've gone through some stuff, and I'm grateful to be back at it, officially, really starting. And it's even better than it was. And I'm sure it's going to continue to get better. So please, 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 again, subscribe and click on the bell. So then that way you can, stay on this journey with me and we can build Phoenix's Rising Academy together. Okay. So, again, share with someone who's waking up from the fog, someone who's finally saying, no more, I am out of here and I'm done with this. And if that someone is you, welcome back. I'm Coach T, and this is Phoenix's Rising Academy. Please visit my website, www.phoenixesrisingacademy.com. We're still building to include classes and workshops, more workshops, but right now you can sign up for my 8-week workshop called From Sealed to Healed. And that's getting you to the 4 steps to getting you to your authentic self. I also have journals, audio meditations, sounds and some albums for you guys to and journals for you guys to download, and other spiritual tools are just they just keep coming. So yeah, go ahead and visit that. And remember, you're not just surviving anymore, you're returning to your throne. Again, this is Coach T, and I love you.